I realize that we've gone a little over time.
Sorry.
We started a little late, but let's have a few questions at least. Now, I know that some people have given me a list of questions here, and I have to honor that. Let's start with a simple one. Will the role of teachers change in the digital content if digital content is universalized? Very easy one.
I actually had...
You started to say something, but you didn't go that far.
I didn't go that far. All right.
Okay, so it's actually a whole topic in itself. Is the teacher's role going to recede? Is the virtual teacher going to take over? For quite a different purpose, a few months ago, and as my husband said, you keep learning. So for that purpose, I did a lot of reading on this initially. And I've also heard your talk on YouTube, which is talking about digital learning. And you made a very good point. And your main point was that the curriculum is linear and that digital tools to actually have to be really effective for children's learning, that you have to be able to deal with knowledge and in a non-linear way, because you can go anywhere with digital tools. I mean, that was the point you were making. In what I was reading, and what I think I agree with what is being said, is that there is no hard evidence up to now that learning outcomes can be affected positively through technology alone. That the teacher, the centrality of the actual human teacher in front of children, and how she is able to use that technology along with the children, yes, that may have. And then if you talk about things like values and attitudes and hidden curriculum and so on and so forth, technology alone will not be able to do justice to what I call the whole child. So this is how I would like to. But there's a lot of research, global and national, and always there's this point that learning outcomes has not been Take what we need right now is research studies that will take good teaching without technology and technology, mobile apps, or whatever, online, digital, etc., and then compare that is there actually a greater value? And we have not got those studies. And at the same time, there's just technology, even the government is putting in a whole lot of money with the middle school things of providing computers and so on. And I don't know how they are going to be used.
John is itching to say something.
I think the future will be, you will be having to blend technology and teaching, and there will be no substitute for face-to-face teaching, but we will have to figure out what the role of technology is in this. The real problem that I see in our country is the notion, e-school, I don't even know what these schools mean, but e-schools and things like that, where there's an idea that there'll be, that we will have school computers, LCDs, everything else, and I've seen these places. And the idea is that what happens is, this thing gets put on, Bal Bharati's books get, set, here with a little bit of cartoons and little bit of, animation and things like that. And then they see it, the teacher goes out for a cup of chai, whatever, and then comes back. I'm just exaggerating it, but there's if you know what I mean over here. So, now that's a wrong use of technology. There must be better uses of this. So I'm taking serious teachers. So there is, of course there is. There are so many things that technology can do with a teacher, a textbook cannot do, or a teacher cannot do. All kinds of physics experiments All right, you can take a child to the moon and show what will happen in the moon without gravity over with technology. So there are different possibilities. But to imagine, and the worst is when you get people who come out with things like hole in the wall. Now I don't know whether you heard about hole in the wall in the slum, okay, where somebody's parlayed that hole in the wall. He's got a professorship in some foreign university. All right. Now the hole in the wall has never been tested. It's been tested. What is it saying? You put a computer in a slum, and then somehow all these slum children will come over here and start learning physics somehow through that, and through formal subjects through that. I mean, there will be some fooling around with the computer, etc., and you learn something. But you're never going to replace formal teaching. You're never going to replace this. And this is just, this is just gimmicky stuff. And a lot of this technology is hugely gimmicky. And everybody gets into the act of taking in these gimmicks without seriously understanding how it, and the question I want to ask is, how does it improve learning? How does it improve development? How does it improve a child's moral and ethical growth? What are these, where are these, so you've got to see these things in an overall perspective. So it's not, should we have a teacher without, or should we have a teacher with? It's how do we put it together?
Okay. As you said, this is a topic in itself, Zakia, and so we could have a long argument about all these things. Let me switch the channels completely as they do and say, what do you think about English medium schools? And since you went into English, so this is a legitimate question from the audience. I'm not making it up. English medium education and so on and so forth. Open-ended question. I'll give you 3 minutes each. No, I think I was a member of the national. John, yeah. It's purely for reflection purposes. It's not, of course. We know where the winds are going and all that, but yeah.
Let me. I can also speak on behalf. Let me say we are the products of elite English medium schools. Okay, I was in school in Bombay, Cathedral School. Okay, so it's a little difficult for me to come out and say that I don't approve of English medium, but I think I can make a distinction. All right, and here it is. My belief is, is that we should teach in mother tongue. All right? And I want to start first and foremost. I consider English extremely important. First, let me start again. I consider English extremely important. I consider that if you do not know English and you cannot speak it, if you cannot read it, and you do not write it, you are going to be disadvantaged. All right? If you are whether you are even in rural India, you will be disadvantaged, because to think about rural India as something static and nobody is ever going to move out of that village or anything like this, and he will not require English, is to me bizarre, because you are thinking that somebody from a village will never move out from there. So I think English is critical. However, I don't believe in English medium, all right, and this is going against it, because let me explain. Whatever little I know, I know the research. The research is very clear on internationally, all right. Internationally, everybody knows mother tongue, and this thing is done. Is the language of instruction. The medium of instruction should be that. Let me explain. Nowhere in the world, Russia, France, Germany, all right, does anybody going for English medium education? Nowhere in the world except in ex-colonial countries, Africa, certain African countries, except Pakistan, India, etc. That's partly the colonial heritage that we have. Otherwise, or China. In China, China is the exact comparison with us. China and we are same population size almost, huge size. We moved out of colonialism, etc., more or less the same time. We have similar aspirations. But China, they don't teach in English, they teach in Chinese. They have it, but they've huge focus on English. There's a huge focus on English. So I'm saying, all right? And the issue which I want to say here is, unless you focus in English in Marathi medium schools, and in Malayalam medium schools, and in Gujarati medium schools, if you do not focus on that and really exponentially improve the standards of English, regional medium schools in this country are doomed to extinction. They are, and I've said this from 10 years ago, all right? I've been writing on this issue for a long time and saying schools have to take this threat of English medium very seriously, because the poor in Mumbai and the poor in Pune and the ambitious poor and the lower middle class are moving out into these private English medium schools, which are so-called English medium schools, which are really more actually Marathi medium schools, with some people teaching a little, who know a little better English than some of the Marathi medium schools.
Okay, third question, which is, you want to continue on this? I mean, you can have the last word on it. He doesn't have to have it.
Just one very,
Okay,
just
good.
one aspect, just to supplement, okay, which is that English medium, I mean, if we're educated in English medium, but the contribution culturally in all our different languages and so on, if we are changing entirely to English medium, then what is the future of that unique national and the contribution in so many different languages? And I think that that is an issue also to be considered, that from the point of view of the cultural contributions as a nation, when we have such a rich variety of languages and there's so much literature as well as a tradition in all these languages, and I think that that also has to be kept in view.
I want to switch gears one more time. John, I think you brought up the issue of stunting.
What?
Stunting. And at the early childhood education part, I mean, including Anganwadis and so on, in spite of all these big programs, we still see, I mean, of course now people are becoming more aware of the issue of stunting. So now how are we going to reconcile this nutritional health aspect and the learning aspect? Because the two somehow don't, the Anganwadi is in one ministry and education another, and nobody's talking about preschool education. You've broken your head in many committees and all those things. I know you can't say it in 3 minutes, but give it a shot.
I'll try and say it in 1.5. Okay.
Actually, just to bring to awareness that we now have a policy for early childhood care and education, 2013. I was one of the people working on that, and we finally managed after 2 years to get it ratified in Parliament and so on. And so there is a policy, and that policy addresses the prenatal to 3 age group as well as the 3 to 5 age group. Now there's this silos of the education department and the silos of the women and child development. And so the 0 to 6 is falling right now with the women and child development. But there is a move that besides preschool education, wherever there is the health ministry also involved, that somewhere we have to build in, along with health and nutrition supplement and so on, this whole question of psychosocial stimulation that John was talking about is one of the things that our center has worked on with some intensive work in that area, working with home-based childcare, working with caregivers of children. We don't say parents, we say caregivers. It could be older siblings, it could be grandmother, it could be to really bring to focus that along with the right kind of nutrition, you also need psychosocial stimulation for brain development. What the neurosciences are telling us, that early level is very important long before children enter school. So I think there is definitely there's a policy in place where now there's a network of us who are working on whether legislation can be put forward, but the policy is there, and but it's a civil society has to push and push and push.
I just want to say something. See, all middle class parents understand the importance of this period of the first 1,000 days. All right? I mean, middle class pregnant mothers take good care of themselves. And now they're so much more aware of what to do with babies, to interact with babies, what kind of music to listen to when they're pregnant, and things like that. I mean, they go overboard in some cases. All right? But when it comes to the poor, all right, this government is right now slashed the budgets in that early this thing. All right? The real issue is we have not given this issue has not taken center stage, this birth to 3 years, all right, as being an extremely critical thing. And if you are talking economic development of our country, if you're talking of, really moving exponentially growth, etc., you really have to now focus on, I would say, the birth to class 2. If you take a continuum, all right, which is the birth to class 2. It's a continuing this thing. And if we really focus on the birth to class 2, which unfortunately in the NEP is non-existent, all right? It does not feature in the NEP. Incidentally, there's a huge problems with the NEP, but that's NEP, New Education Policy, 2015. Doesn't have anything to say about these things. It has something to say about learning outcomes and preschool and something, and vocational skills and technology, but it doesn't deal with critical issues like this, there are separate set of problems. So I'm saying that we, as civil society, all right, we really need to focus on this birth to three, and at one level and up to second standard at a full continuum level.
Last question. What are your plans for the next 5 years?
Well, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do.
Yeah, everybody, India wants to know.
Actually, let me be a little frank, okay?
John, remember, Zaki is going to have the last word, okay, if you speak now.
First one.
Okay.
Well, I've just started a blog, all right, the next 5 years, I'm not going to spend all the time on it. I've just started a blog on the new education policy, all right, incidentally, if anybody's interested, on monitoring what this government is doing about the new education policy and a critical look at it, all right? This is one, so, and I think it will happen in the next few years. We'll definitely spend the time because this new educational policy is not going to come out at the end of this year, as they say it will be. It will take much longer time. So I will be profitably employed looking at the new educational policy. The second is my interest in RTE continues, so I will continue with RTE. That's my professional interest. Now I have a lot of private interests, but I'm not sure that anybody else here needs to know about it or really wants to know.
I think that you raised the question of this very early period, and so this network that I spoke of, the Alliance for the Right to Early Child Development, I'm quite active in that, and we've got still a very long way to go. It's a national group, and I think that I will continue to contribute to that. We're right now bringing out a volume which is sort of like a primer for all the grassroots level people who want to work in this area, to take all the different aspects which are the prime aspects and we are contributing papers on that. And so one is at a little more academic level, and something that we want to put at a very grassroots level as well. So that's something I'm continuing to work on. And I'm involved, one thing I'm not involved in and will not be is the day-to-day management of the Center for Learning Resources. So that is something which fortunate that neither of us are going to be doing that. And then I'm doing some writing on my own, which may perhaps coalesce into something a little larger. Otherwise, yes, certain private interests, personal interests, a little more with music and so on. And I think I agree with John that I'm not sure that this is a forum where anybody is interested in that.
Not in this forum.
Unless somebody is interested in playing Scrabble.
On the net.
On the net.
Exactly. Thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Whatever we've started by way of the Kumud Bansal Award, first of all, it acquired prestige because Kumud's name. And now with awardees like you, the award itself will acquire some sort of weight. And we hope that, because otherwise it's just an award. So we hope we'll create a family of Kumud Bansal awardees. And you certainly are one of the first awardees in this. For the rest of us, I want to say that I can tell you, although 1994 doesn't sound like that old, don't say it that way, but I think there are many people, there are a lot of young people here who are getting interested in education, and if nothing else, it's important to look at the lives of people who have spent so much time working on education on a wide variety of subjects, have thought about things, and find ways of interacting with them. This was one opportunity for you, not quite to interact, but let's see what we can do. Now with the digital media, whether we can create something, it should be possible to do something like that. Because I think we can all say that we were fortunate to be brought up at a time when things were different. But then they are fortunate that they are being brought up at a time that is very different also. So now the question is, how will you take advantage of this elder generation, not older, and take whatever is being done forward. So thank you all for coming, and congratulations again. It's about 6:33. We end the session.
Right. I think we could just go on, and I think it has been a beautiful interaction. All what Satya and John said, हमारे जो प्रथम का परिवार यहाँ बैठा है, I think it sounded very familiar. Okay, whether we all work with passion, whether you need to be interested in what you're doing, you need to have solutions, you need to have questions, appropriate questions, and of course what again was said is that you have to go and enjoy what you are doing, and I think that's what we all here are enjoying what we are doing. And John, I must tell you that we as Pratham are also looking at 0 to 3, 3 to 6 and to 7 to 11, because we really feel those are critical years. So, and everything that you said, that now you're not going to look into the mundane center activities, is very familiar, is what is also happening in our organization, that people are now getting into more creative as we are getting elder, so not older. So thank you, and thank you to all of you, and I can't end this unless I thank my own team, and thanks one and all for coming here. Please enjoy the high tea. Thanks.